Hi guys, welcome back to my channel once again. My name is Ayush Saraf, and in this video, we are going to solve a question that was asked in Apple and Microsoft for the role of data scientist or any other data role, right? The role doesn't matter. What matters is the question. From where did I get this question? Well, I was scrolling through LinkedIn one day and I saw this post by a guy named Nishant Kumar. You can see this guy. And this guy is working currently in IBM as a data engineer as of 4th May 2026. And he has more than 1 lakh followers. And if you scroll down in his activity section, you will see that recently he has uploaded a post here. And wait a second. In this post, he has uploaded 79 SQL questions that one can practice to be interview ready or to just practice their own skills to develop their problem solving skills, to develop their skills of understanding the question better and writing the queries better. And this is a very good source of practicing questions. Why? Because you don't have to pay anything, it's completely free. And since this guy is a data engineer at IBM, the authenticity and the credibility of the question is something that shouldn't be questioned, in my opinion, because he has uploaded good quality of questions for someone who is just starting out. Okay, now earlier I had uploaded this a video while on solving the SQL 79th question, which was asked in Google, and today I will be solving this one, the SQL 75 one, which was asked in Apple or Microsoft. Now, I won't be solving all the questions because I feel that some of the questions in this list are easy to medium level, and one who is just starting out and has practiced a couple of questions can really get to it. But I want to solve those questions in which I can think of a different approach, and the question level is also on a little difficult side, like on a medium to hard level difficulty. So this is my objective here. And just to show you, this is the question. Wait a second. So this is the question. Okay, I have actually uploaded this question in a well formatted way in my Notion. So I will take you there just so that I can explain you the question, show you the data, show you the create and insert statements, and make you and help you understand the question with the help of a sample input and output table. So let's go to my Notion. So if you see here, then this is the question that we were talking about. Now let's see, read the problem statement. You can also read the problem statement from here, but the problem that I saw here was that in this post, the question he has given is too much compressed. Okay, and like for someone who cannot understand it, it will be a little bit difficult. If you are in an actual interview, you can ask some questions to your interviewer, some clarifying questions, some things that you are not able to understand, but just to clarify so that you do not assume anything wrong. Okay, but since here you cannot ask someone, I have expanded this question in a way that someone that is actually asked in an interview. Okay, and it is easily understandable. You do not have to, worry about this condition or that condition, or if you have to assume this thing or not. You do not have to worry about that. Okay, now without any delay, let's get to the problem statement. The problem says you are given a table of user activity events. Each row represents a single event performed by a user on a specific client. Okay, so we have a user activity events, a table of user activity events in which every row represents a single event performed by a user and a client. Okay, so there is a specific client and a specific user. And for there are event types which are considered as communication events. What are these? These four events are considered as communication events. Okay. Now, what is our task? What do we have to do? For each user client pair, as we know that for each row there is a user and a client. So for each user client pair, calculate total number of events, total number of communication events. Then we have to calculate the total number of qualified events. What are qualified events? At least 50% of the events are communication events. So for example, if for a particular user client pair, there are four events, and out of those four, two are communication events. Communication events are those events which are any one out of these four. Okay. So if two are communication events, then that user is qualified for a client. Okay. What is the meaning of qualified? I guess we are clear with this. Next, for each client ID, count the number of qualified users. Okay. So now for each client, we have to calculate how many users are qualified. Return client ID with the highest number of qualified users. So I guess the approach is clear. How we have to solve this problem. Okay. So basically, again, in this task, I have given you what approach you need to follow. It was not necessary. You could have solved this question with just the compressed version here, which you can see here. But again, just for simple and sake of understanding, I had written this. Now, some important notes to uh, keep in mind. First, a user may appear under multiple clients and should be evaluated separately for each client. Okay, so let's say we have a user 123, and for we have clients 123. So let's assume that for user 1 appears in client 1 and 2, user 2 appears in client 2 and 3, and user 3 appears in client 3 and 1. This is just an example. Okay, now you can see that each user appears under multiple clients. Okay, but with this, if you see, we have 6 client pairs. Okay, like for user 1, we have, let's call the users as u1, u2, u3, and clients as c1, c2, c3. If you understood the table structure that I was talking about, then you will see that we have 6 pairs: u1, c1, u1, c2, then u2, c2, u2, c3, and then u3, c3, u3, c1. Now you can see one user has multiple clients, and sorry about that. One user has multiple clients, and uh, sorry about that. One user has multiple clients, and we have to calculate for each pair of user and client. Okay. Include users with exactly 50% communication events. So the threshold is at least 50% of the events should be communication events. Count each qualified user only once per client. That is understandable. And if multiple clients try, return any one of them. Okay, so we do not have that particular constraint. This is the schema and data set. I will put these create and insert statements in my description box. So please make sure to check them out. Okay. And if you check the data set here, the number of rows are less, and there are some edge cases that were not included in this. Like while I was solving this question, I got an idea to ask ChatGPT that if in this question some edge cases can appear. So I supplied this question to ChatGPT and it generated me a new data set, or basically a data set on the top of the already available one, and it included some edge cases, some cases that could throw off under certain conditions. Okay, throw off an error basically. So that is why this data set looks a little bit lengthier. But again, you do not have to worry about that. Okay. Now let's understand what the question is asking. So for the sample input table, you can see we are only concerned about user ID, client ID, and event type. Okay, so we can ignore all other columns. For user ID, we have U10 and U11 here, and client ID as A and B. Okay. Now, for with this, you can first you need to understand what are the user ID and client pairs. Here we only have 2 pairs, 10 and A, 11 and B. We have 2 pairs. For each pair, there are 3 events. Okay. And if you can see, for user ID 10 and client A, there are 3 events. And out of these 3 events, 2 are communication events. Why? Because video call received and sent are a part of this list. Okay. I hope. Okay. Okay, this list. Okay, I hope you understood what the list I'm talking about. Now, since 2 out of the 3 are communication events, if we find out the percentage, it comes out as 66%, 67% if we round it off. Now, this is the qualified user. Why? Because it is great. The number of communication events are greater than 50% of the total events. Okay. So this is the qualified user, and we have to include him in our final count of total number of qualified users. Okay. So as of now, we have only one qualified user. If you look at the another client pair of 11 and B, you see that again there are 3 events, but only one event is communication event. So if we find out the percentage, which is 1 divided by 3 upon 1 divided by 3 multiplied by 100%, you will see that the percentage calculation comes at 33%, 33.33%, which is less than 50%. So this user is not a qualified user, and we will not include this user in our final count of total qualified users. So since we only had one user, which is U10, and for U10 we had the client ID as CLA, in the sample output, in our output, we will show the client ID, which is CLA. Okay, this is the explanation here. I hope you guys understood the question, and if if you have not understood the question, I would request you to rewind the video a little bit and rewatch this part again so that you have a complete understanding of this question. I know some of you guys watching this video might feel that this question is very easy and I'm unnecessarily complicating it by explaining a lot of things. But again, there are a lot of different variety of learners, right? Some people learn it super fast, some people take a little bit time to learn, and it is always better to over explain things so that someone who doesn't get it very fast can understand it in the most simplified manner. Okay, so that is actually the objective behind this channel as well. So without any further delay, let's get to our Postgres. Now I will change my windows here in my OBS. So this will be a kind of transition. So I will see you in my Postgres window. Okay, so now we are at our Postgres window. I'm using pgadmin 4 for running my Postgres SQL. You can use any other like dbeaver or something other softwares as well. So here I have uploaded, I have used my create and insert statements, and this is the table after running the select query. Here you can see we have the ID, time ID, user ID, customer ID, and client ID. Basically, user ID and customer ID are same, and the event type and event ID. But we are only concerned with our user ID, client ID, and event type table. But it's not required to remove other columns, so you can just keep it. But keep this in mind that we are only concerned with 3 columns. Okay. So now, our first step, what was the first step? To find each user ID and client ID pairwise number of events. Okay, we have to calculate user and client pairwise total number of events. Okay, and again, we will do 2 things here. First, we will calculate the total number of events for each user client pair, and another column, we will calculate total number of events which are qualified ones, or sorry, total events which are communication events only, like only those events which fall under any one of the 4 different events. Okay. So for this, what we will do is we will do select user ID, client ID, and then we will do count star as total events. Now to calculate communication events, we will have to use a case statement. Case when uh, event type in. Now since we have 4 columns, 4 different types, I will just copy paste from my Notion template here. Okay, good. Now, and for now, what we need to do is we need to find the total number of events which are fall under these categories, right? So we can use a sum function here. Some case when the condition, if true, then 1, else 0, end. I hope you understand how this function works, right? Like how we use a case when and an aggregation function together as form events. Okay. From fact event, and then we just group by user ID and client ID. Okay. I hope this runs. Uh, okay, I need to put a bracket here. Okay, now it's okay. Let's order by as well. Okay. Now for each user client pair, we have the total number of events and total number of communication events as well. Now let's put this in a CTE. After this, we will filter on the 50% condition. Okay. With CTE as, you can name a CTE as whatever you want. I just put it as plain CTE. Now, we have now calculated the total number of events and qualified communication events for each user client pair. Okay. Now we will calculate the qualified users. For that, what we will do is we will run another query. Let's call it as CTE1. I mean another CTE. This will calculate the qualified users. Okay. So select star from CTE where com events, we need to find the percentage, right? So com events into 100.0 by, why I'm multiplying by 100.0, because we need a float value. If you just multiply by 100, you will get the value as integer. To get it in decimals or float, you need to multiply by 100.0. Com events divided by total events, and it should be greater than, I mean at least 50, right? Events greater than equal to 50. Okay, I like to put brackets here just in case something doesn't go wrong. Okay. Now we have another CT. Let's let me show you what happens here. Select star from CT1. If we run this, okay. Now we are initially, if you see, if I run this part, we are total of 11 people. And now, if you run the entire query, you see that we have 10. So we can conclude that we only had one person who was not part of the qualified user thing. Okay. Now just we need to do one last thing here. We need to select the client ID because we only need the top ID, right? Like the one which had maximum number of qualified users. Okay. From CTE1. Now what we can do is just to avoid duplicates, I would like to use group by here, group by client ID, and order by what? Order by the count. Why? Because we want the maximum number of qualified users that each client has. Okay, order by count star, and that to descending. Okay, and now we have the in descending order. Now we will just use limit 1. With this, we will get our final answer, which is CL1. So this client ID is the client which has maximum number of qualified users. Now you might question one thing. Let's remove everything from here. Let's comment it out first and let's write it as star. Okay. Now you can see for client ID 1, we had 3 by 4, like the communication events are 3, total events are 4. If you find the percentage, it will come out as 75%. Same is for client 2 as well. Okay, it is again coming out as 75%. But we need to check the total number of qualified users as well. Okay. Now, if let's say I do not comment it out, I do not put any limit here. Okay. So I just need to use client ID, right? Okay. Now you can see client ID 1 had the maximum number of what do you say? Qualified users. Okay. We can also do one thing here. Let me show you count star as well. Okay. Since we are already using group by, here you can see the count is 4 each for client 1 and 2 and 1 for client 4 and 3. Okay. But if you remember our condition that we didn't have to, like in case if there was a tie, we just had to show what was coming on the first one. Okay. The question could have been made more clearer if we had said something like, if there is a tie, then show that client which is then sort in ascending order on the basis of client, on the basis of client ID. Okay. So if we had ordered on the basis of client ID, then you must have seen, then you will see that client ID 1 will always come before client ID 2 in ascending order. And then from there you can take out the number 1 row, which is client ID 1 in this case. And since but we do not have to go through all that hassle, so we can just use limit 1 here. And with this, we don't want count, so we can remove it. And with this, we reach our solution. So client ID 1 is the client who has the maximum number of qualified users. Okay. So with this, we come to the end of our solution. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please consider hitting the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel if you like such content. Also share this video to your friends who are preparing for data science or data analyst interviews or just want to practice the SQL skills. So with this, thank you so much and happy learning.